Hi, nice to see you all again. Today, I've been actually looking forward to making this one a lot because Ireland is, of course, a country in Eurovision which has a lot of ups and downs, especially lately. Maybe more downs than ups. But considering we're making tier lists on this channel where we cover the last 30 years, I think we're in for one with a lot of ups and a lot of downs today. Placing Irish Eurovision entries into 7 different categories here on tiermaker.com, which the website is called. Um, it's going to be quite interesting, I think. And, as I said, Ireland is very up and down. They are, of course, the most successful Eurovision country of all time because of their 7 wins. We're going to cover 3 of those wins today. So more than half of them are before the time where we begin here. Um, Quick mention about those 4 wins. I think some of them are better than others. I think maybe, in particularly, one of them is quite underwhelming and would probably not reach above solid in my tier list here. But the other ones would definitely be above that. But we're not here to talk about those today. Instead, we're gonna get right into it with their effort in 1993, which is a winner. It's called In Your Eyes by Niamh Kavanagh, I think, which is just fantastic. I think so. This is one of the greater ballads of the 90s. I really must admit that that's my personal opinion. Just classy all the way throughout. A beautifully progressive song with a great melody to it. I think maybe the hook doesn't have like an instant impact that it leaves when you listen to it, but just the overall packaging here, it's incredibly well sung. I think that's the main standout of the song. But also the way the song progresses, the sound design of everything, it has a beautiful instrumentation behind it. The orchestration is flawless with a lot of variation and creative ideas being put in there. And I also really like the incorporation of the backing vocalists. They are very strong in this song, really supporting the main vocal performance here, which just makes this into one of the best ballads of the 90s in Eurovision, I'd say. Um, yeah, everything's just perfect about it. That's my personal opinion, and Ireland are off to a good start in this tier list. Not maybe not very surprisingly, because yeah, we're gonna continue. 1994, Rock and Roll Kids. You know how much I love this song. Maybe if you watched my channel before, this is just up my alley. I love this scaled back, just pleasant soundstage with guitar, piano. Nothing else is needed. It's so personal. It's so emotionally loaded with the storytelling aspect that it has. You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'll just continue. Um, One of my favorite songs in Eurovision all time. It has to be. It's just up there because of I wouldn't say the simplicity of it, but the simplicity of the instrumentation is what makes it so tangible. It's just 2 vocals, a guitar, and a piano. You don't need anything more. You set the tone, the atmosphere is established beautifully by how personal this song becomes, by how both like stage layout is beautiful as well. They really just hammer home the concept of making it so personal and so intimate. Also love the storytelling aspect of the lyrics. The melody that it has is beautiful, especially when it evolves from the bridge to the chorus. And I love how they also allow each other's instruments to kind of steal the limelight throughout the song. There's the section in the second verse where the guitar joins in and takes a lot of the focus away from the piano that has established the opening part of the song. Then the vocals are incredibly in focus for the chorus where they kill the music, which is such a like carefully planned and well executed moment in the song where the vocals just take over, and then the outro I think is where the piano really gets allowed to shine because that's what picks up the energy just to kind of close out the song. Very hard hitting moment in the song. I love everything about it. It has this beautiful progression and just a timeless classic for me personally. You can't go wrong with a song like this, the way that it's written and performed. Among the greatest, I think so. 1995, Dreaming. I think a lot of people just see this as quite an underwhelming one because it didn't do as well as all of the winners that surround it. But I still think this is a solid song. It has a bit of a like a repetitive touch to it. Chorus isn't too interesting, but it's just a calm mood that has really set the tone in this song. I like the way that it's performed, the way he's just sitting there and painting the story of the song. It's very pleasant. I like the backing track. It's guitar driven. Um, yeah, just pleasant. I don't really set out to listen to this over and over again and return to it a lot because I don't really think it has that memorability to it. The music isn't too interesting. It just kind of keeps going, but I still enjoy it for what it is. So I think it's a solid effort, this one. Something I consider to be much more than a solid effort is, of course, the voice. I think a lot of Eurovision fans are kind of agree that this is one of the best winners of all time. It's just its own thing. It's unique. It stands out. Really creates its own world. The whole atmosphere that it establishes right from the get-go with the vocal style and how the instrumental kind of backs it up. It's a very unique instrumentation that just works so well in establishing the atmosphere that this song wants to have. And then you also have the chorus, which has both a memorable melody, a lot of energy in the backing track, but I think mainly this incredible vocal performance in the middle of it. Also very well staged. My only nitpick with it is this whole blur effect that they have during the violin solo after the first chorus. It just looks awful. I get that it was cool back in 1996, but it has made the song age worse than it otherwise would have. But it's just such a small detail, you know. The song and the performance is still flawless, among the greatest I've ever seen. And in 1997, Mysterious Woman, they actually finished second, so there a lot of good results here for Ireland in a row. This is a well-executed ballad, beautiful stage layout, quite a nice hook to it. Doesn't really have a lot of energy to it, but I mean, it is kind of a slow-moving ballad. But I think it could have benefited from a bit more of a grandness in the instrumentation, especially towards the end. Like you want to feel like the song is actually being complete. I don't really get that from this one. It's just a nice, enjoyable listening experience in the back. But I would still put it in really great because it just has that melody to it. It's well executed on stage vocally. It's fantastic. Just like watching it, like listening to it. 3 minutes of just enjoyment for me personally. And then 1998 comes along, and this is, I mean, it's kind of easy to just get overshadowed by all these amazing songs that Ireland sent in the 1990s. But this is like the hidden gem of all hidden gems for me. It's Always Over Now has one of the greatest hooks for like this kind of restrained pop ballad that I've ever heard. It has such a melody that just sticks in my head. Love how the chords move along with the melody. Very passionately performed. Just a great flow throughout the song. There's energy in it, but there's also a bit of like subtle drama to it. It just moves along so pleasantly and with such a nice flow to it. And I love the melody. I love it to bits. I really do. And how it works with this backing track that really has the great sound to it as well. It's very typical 90s. And I mean, 90s music is a personal favorite of mine, especially when it is this type of backing track. It's kind of Duran Duran. What other bands do we have there? Mid 90s that just has this pleasant soundstage in the back. You know, I just love the sound of it, and I love the vocal performance on the stage layout. Everything just works here for me. They didn't do as well with this as, of course, all of their wins, but I think it's just as good of a song and just as good of a performance. One of my standout favorites, really. Among the greatest for me personally. And then everything kind of dies down. 1999, I'm tempted to put it in What Happened Here just because of what has preceded it. This song is quite straight up way too slow, vocally very underwhelming, kind of off-putting in a sense. I'll put it in Not For Me because I don't think it should really be down here. If I placed it down here, it would mostly just be because of what preceded it and how many great songs Ireland were in the middle of sending. Because this one is too underwhelming, too uninteresting, quite poorly performed, I would say. I don't get anything out of this one at all. Just completely unenjoyable for me. Yep, not for me at all. And then 2000, they come back up with a really great entry. Millennium, what's it called? Millennium of Love or something? I always call it Celebrate the New Millennium because that's the main melody for the for the chorus. And what is it like? Let our footprints leave a harvest for the children. It's kind of like a nice lyrical kind of content, I think, in this one. But I do really like the melody that it has. I like the setting as well. It's this whole thing with Irish 90s instrumentals, just really pleasant to listen to. Nice backing track, has some energy in it here as well. Well performed, well sung. No complaints anywhere, really. 2001, I have a few more complaints. This is a bit too slow. It's vocally quite strong, and I do like the whole setting of the song, but it just drags on way too much, which just makes me put it in here. Because I like concepts of it. I think there's a good song hidden here somewhere, but it's being executed in a too slow manner. It drags out a bit too much, and just doesn't really leave that impression of any interesting qualities, I think, which is a shame. Still, I think there's something in here that I like. 2003, there are more things that I like. This is very charming. It's very upbeat and just happy and carefree. I'd say this is a really great one. I like the incorporation of the backing vocalist. This just works in this kind of combination with the main vocal and the backing vocal just working together. I think there's a nice dynamic in there. It's really pleasant how much it relies on the guitar-driven instrumental as well. And the chorus is it's charming and it's cute. I don't really think it's as strong as maybe Mysterious Woman, but it's charming and upbeat, and I have a lot of fun just listening to it. And I love his guitar. I want one of those. Love this green color that it has. I should look up if I can buy one of those. All right, that's 2004. This is quite... Oh, this is so difficult because I think there's a good song hidden in here somewhere too. It's very similar to 2001. It's also a bit too slow and a bit too uninteresting, I think. But I do still like concepts of what the song has behind it. There's a nice melody to it. But yeah, it just doesn't leave enough of an impression. I always kind of, whenever I try to think of the song, I usually think of the UK entry from 2004 because it just has a bit more memorability to it. This one doesn't really go all the way and kind of just leave me a bit unimpressed. Which is a shame because I still think there's good stuff in here, but not enough. 2005, Love question mark. It's upbeat. It's pretty catchy. Performance is no, not really. So maybe I like it, but because I think I like the approach that they've taken in making it energetic. It's quite intense. It has a memorable hook to it, which might get a bit repetitive towards the end, but it's still, upbeat. They've tried making something different here because they've kind of had a few poor results with the more ballady type of songs now for a few years, which I appreciate, but it just doesn't work when you see the performance, and it gets a bit repetitive towards the end, so, But then they come along and send a much better ballad again. This is kind of on par with the 2000 effort, I think. Like, it's very easy to just kind of group together the Irish ballads, I think. I don't blame you if you do that, because I kind of do it too. But Every Song is a Cry for Love is a very pretty ballad. I particularly like the way that it progresses. It never really goes grand, but it just kind of has that constant feeling of enjoyment that I just really enjoy. And it's so well sung as well, which I really am a big fan of. So, yeah, really great, I think. So, 2007, what happened here? I like the fact that they're going for their own thing. It is very, Irish and typical for their culture and everything. I appreciate that, but it sounds not good when you listen to it being performed live. The vocals are very off. The whole cohesion of the song just kind of falls apart, in my opinion. I always skip this. I usually don't really skip Eurovision songs when I watch old editions of Eurovision, because I kind of always get something out of most songs, and if I don't, then at least I can't be bothered to skip them. But this one, I just can't sit through it. I can't do it. And it's just, an issue for me. Some other people probably love this song and what it tries to do. I like the ambition of it, and I like what it wants to do. I just really, really dislike what it actually does and the execution of it. I can't get behind it. it's a chore for me to get through this one. Sorry. Uh, 2008, Dustin the Turkey, Irlanda du support. I mean, yeah, what happened here? The thing is, I feel a bit embarrassed in actually admitting this, but I think this is incredibly funny. And I mean, you can slate me all you want for thinking that, because it is just such a train wreck and so awful, and like the whole concept of it is, it shouldn't be supported or nor appreciated, but I just think it's so freaking funny. I'm sorry. It's still a what happened here, but I think this is really funny. I have the humor of a 5-year-old sometimes, but this makes me laugh, but it's still really damn bad. So yeah, we'll move on. The less I say about that one, the better, I guess. 2009, etc. This type of music is actually something that I want to see more of in Eurovision, like the girly pop punk type of music. I mean, pop punk in general, we haven't had a lot. I mean, we talked about the 2007 effort from Andorra a while back, which I just really like. This one I don't particularly like as much, but I still think there's good stuff in here. The energy is great. The chorus is kind of catchy. Just don't really like the execution of the live performance. I think it falls very flat. And it doesn't really have the same great type of riffs and energy that I think the Andorra 2007 effort was. Sorry for comparing songs this much, but I think it paints a clearer picture of what I actually think about songs when I do that. So I'll keep doing that. Sorry if you don't like it. I'll put it in I like it, but because I think the performance falls a bit flat and the song doesn't interest me enough, but I still like the energy that it wants to establish, and I like the concept more than I like the execution, I guess. 2010, It's For You. I think this is a pretty ballad. I love the whole... I don't know what type of flute it is, but there's a flute section after the first chorus, which I really love. The progression of this song kind of does the attempt that it wants to be grand towards the end. But it's a very classical approach to making that grandness, which maybe didn't work completely in 2010. But I still like the concept of the song. And I think the first half of it is really the standout part. I like the way that it's performed. The lighting is beautiful on stage. Really great, is what I'd classify that one as. And it's going to get some company from Jedward. This is a hit or miss, I guess, with every type of audience. Some people love Jedward, some people can't stand them, and some people are like me and just enjoy it for what it is, but wouldn't really classify it as anything amazing. I like them on stage. They're energetic, it's really fun watching them. But I think what really sells this one is that they actually have a pretty strong song behind them. It's really upbeat, has a pretty strong instrumental. I think there's a lot of just energy to it and a lot of punch in it, especially like the percussive side of things, and the synths are very hard hitting, which I really am a big fan of. And then the chorus is also quite catchy. Yeah, it just works. I also like the whole backdrop of the stage as well, even though it's them like dancing and stuff in silhouettes, which I usually am not a big fan of. I think it works in this one. It's just part of the charm and part of the wackiness that they contribute. It's just a shame that that's kind of a one-trick pony, I guess, because when they try to do it again with a much worse song, as they did in 2012 with Waterline, it's just not for me. This is unbearable for me. The song is not very interesting. It kind of tries to rely on them being the stars again, but the song doesn't have the same energy. It doesn't have the same iconic type of instrumental beat behind them either. It's just a pretty flat pop song, and then when you throw them on top of it, it kind of just becomes this clash of ideas that they are too over the top and the song is too restrained, and then it just doesn't match. Doesn't work at all for me. I think this is among the most poor efforts that Ireland have put out. And they're going to get some competition later down the line here as we get through the years. In 2013, however, I think this is a solid effort. I have an issue with this one, and it is that the chorus is too bouncy and almost childish-like, because I think the verses are really strong. They're very reminiscent of, the house music that was really big in around 2013, 2012, 2013. It sounds very great for its time. The build-up is quite effective. It really builds some momentum to the song, and the chorus is way too just cheerful, bouncy, doesn't have any power to it whatsoever, which always makes me so disappointed because they kind of rely on this percussive driven build up to it, and then you just kill the percussion in the chorus and rely on this really cheerful sound design, which I really hate. But still, melodically, I enjoy it. I think it's quite charming on stage as well. It's just that I can't really get behind why they did what they did with the chorus. Solid effort. It's closer to the I like it, but I think actually what would be most fair is that I put it down here because I don't like the chorus. So I'm gonna put it down here. 2014, however, this one is a solid one, I think. Doesn't really have as much of an impression, like it doesn't leave enough of an impression on me as I think it wants to do. But I still really like the instrumentation here and the atmosphere that they create. It has its own identity. It just doesn't really have a hook that's interesting enough for me to really latch onto, which I think is really the setback here. The stage layout isn't really something I enjoy either. It looks cool, I guess, with the coloring, but not really sure what goes on the stage, and it's a bit underwhelming in that regard, I think, and doesn't leave enough of an impression on me to make me really, really enjoy it, even though the atmosphere of it is quite strong. So yeah, I'll place that one in solid. Playing with numbers, however, I am tempted. Now I'm gonna put this one in really great. No, you know what? I'm gonna be. Yeah, this is fantastic. I really think so. Beautifully written, great lyrical writing as well. But really, what sets it apart is the melody is so pleasant, and how it flows between segments is incredibly strong. I love the instrumentation of this one. The piano driven. There's cello. There's a bit of just restrained percussion to really just build up some energy in the backing track while still keeping it quite intimate and very mellow. And I think what really just puts it up in the fantastic tier for me is how it's staged. I think it looks beautiful on stage, and I love the layout and I love the colors. I can't ever comprehend how this did not make the final. I'm sorry, but I think that it's a flawlessly executed performance to what is already a very, very pretty song. So, fantastic one in my opinion. 2016 is not very fantastic in my opinion. It's charming. It's a bit upbeat. It's very harmless. I'd put it in solid, but I think the vocal performance is kind of underwhelming. Doesn't really have a lot of conviction. The backing vocalists are also quite weak and yeah, just quite forgettable in all honesty. I think it's very harmless, and I kind of, I can get behind the approach they're taking. It just wants to be harmless and like enjoyable for the 3 minutes, but the performance kind of drags it down, I think. So now, 2017, however, Dying to Try. This is a solid one, I think. I like you can think that it's gimmicky with this massive balloon on stage, but I kind of like it. It really just leaves an identity to this song. The track as a whole has a progression which I'm kind of disappointed in that it never really elevates all the way. It has like an approach of a grand final chorus, but I don't really think the vocals live up to actually match that. And when the actual hard-hitting drumming kicks in, the backing track is still too restrained as it keeps going. Like, you can have an impactful first hit, but then you kind of need to keep that energy going throughout the whole chorus there at the end, and they don't really do that. But I still like the atmosphere of the song, like the ambiance that they set. Melodically, it's quite strong as well. I do enjoy it. And I kind of like this whole, like the vocal approach. It stands out and it makes it memorable in that sense. For some people, I guess a little bit off-putting the way he sings, but I think it leaves an identity to it. And I also kind of like this balloon, so solid. 2018, Together. This is really, really great. I love the staging of this one. I think it's so beautiful, like everything that they set out to do here. The song has a great flow to it. I am particularly fond of towards the ending when the backing vocals really kick in and join in with the rhythm. They like make a contrastive rhythm to the main vocal melody, which just works flawlessly. And then you see it on stage as well with the dancing and the snowfall, and the lighting is beautiful. Just works. Everything clicks for me. It's very much in the same vein as Playing with Numbers. I think I just might prefer this song slightly more, but I think this is staged so beautifully. And to what is already a pretty great song as well. I really do think this is really, really great. Could be my favorite among the really great songs, to be honest. It probably is. 2019, 22, this is not for me. I can't get behind this one. The melody from Ordinary World is kind of off-putting when it's placed in a song like this. I think there's like charm to it. It's and the ambition that they have with the performance as well, but I think everything just kind of falls flat. It feels too amateurish. The song isn't really top tier produced, which kind of hinders it a little bit in its immediate impact. And I can't really get behind anything that it wants to do. It's charming and it's cute, but just doesn't click with me. Simple as that. Story of My Life, solid one. I like the energy of this one. It's quite intense. And I think the chorus has a great attitude to it. And it's also quite dynamic instrumentally. It's just strong, a strong song. It would be interesting to see how this one would have been performed live, because obviously we know from later experiences that maybe poor Leslie here wasn't the best performer when she was told to run on a treadmill. But I think this song is quite strong. It's a solid effort. Would have been interesting to see it on stage. I don't think I would place it any higher than this, but still I think it's quite solid. Maps is... there's great drumming in this song. Like, the drumming is really what works for me. The staging is a bit overly ambitious, or well, it is overly ambitious because obviously they couldn't pull it off. Vocally quite shaky throughout. Backing vocals doesn't offer a lot, even though they're quite good. There are good aspects in the song. The chorus is also quite catchy melody, to be honest. I'm gonna place it in I like it, but because I think the song as a whole, if you listen to the studio cut, it has redeeming qualities in there, and I think the drumming is really what works for it. But also quite a memorable melody. It gets a bit repetitive towards the end, I think. Relies too much on the chorus, but maybe that's understandable because the chorus is definitely the selling point in this song. But yeah, the performance didn't work. I think we can all agree on that one. 2022, That's Rich. Yeah, you know that this one doesn't work for me. It's so loud and overexpressive, I think, but you kind of, like, those kind of aspects get isolated when you see it live, and you don't really, like, they're not very noticeable when you watch it live performed. So I did enjoy this performance quite a lot, actually. I think it's very well performed. Vocally strong as well. Like, it surprised me by how well executed everything was, but I still think the song was way too weak. It doesn't really have anything interesting about it to me. I think the backing track lacks dynamics completely, and it really needs to kind of offer more variation instrumentally to really back up this attempt to have such a memorable hook. And I think the hook as well is too one note. It's too much of the same thing just being repeated. It's not melodically engaging for me. But I will place it in the I like it but category because I really like the performance of it. I think they executed the performance just the way they should have, and they impressed me with it. The song is the setback here for me. I think that's fair. a fair judgment from what I actually think. You can disagree with me as much as you want. It's completely fine. Do tell me now. This is the tier list for Ireland that I just put together. So we have 3 songs up in Among the Greatest, which is a tied record, I believe. And all 3 of them came in the first few years of of the tier list we're making here. But yeah, let's face it, Ireland really had their strongest period in the 90s. I think most people can agree with that. maybe one day we'll have the good old Ireland back and challenging for the win. That would be really nice to see, just at least once, to see Ireland towards the top of the scoreboard, fighting it out for a win. That's something I just want to see soon. But yeah, that's my tier list. Do tell me what you agree and disagree with in the comments. I'm always looking forward to reading them, as you probably know. Take care of yourselves until I hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.